Hey guys, welcome back to the rhythm tutorial series. In this episode I want to explain about swinging eighth notes. This is a bit confusing, at least from my experience in teaching, because we have already learned that there is such a huge difference between subdivisions in eighth notes. Ta 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 ta, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and boom, ta 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 ta. On the one hand, or on the other hand, a beat that is subdivided into triplets, which sounds like we have learned that this is a huge difference. Is the music in a straight eighth note grid or is it in a triplet grid? And we have learned that in the triplet grid we subdivide the beat into 3 subdivisions, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and like this. And in an eighth note grid we subdivide the beat into 2, like this, and 2 and 3 and 4 and, where I now have 2 claps to each beat. And it's still on the board here. On the top line we have the green dots indicate the subdivisions in 2. There's 2 green dots to every beat here. The blue circles are the beats that I'm walking with the steps. And I made this little brackets to indicate there's always 2 per beat, right? That's the eighth note grid. And down here, the quarter notes, the beat, are in the same place as above, but now they're subdivided into triplets, into 3 subdivisions. And we are familiar with that. Now, many times, we might be learning a tap step that has 2 tap sounds to each beat, but they're not spread out evenly. They may sound more like this. Right? So if I clap this sort of a pattern, it'll sound like. So on first sight, I would think that's clearly 2 claps for each step, right? If I slow it down, there's always 1 clap on the step, which is the beat, and then there's always 1 offbeat. So I might be fooled into thinking I have 2 subdivisions, and that should be an eighth note grid. Well, in theory, it is not, because I also have to recognize there's that little pause. And that little pause actually has enough room for another clap, I'm just not doing it. So I might be fooled into thinking I'm in eighth notes, but I'm actually in a triplet note grid. If I want to be very precise, I can count 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, etc. So this particular phenomenon that I was just showing actually has claps or tap sounds or instrument sounds on the beats, and on the triplet note just before the next beat, and in the middle here there is nothing, and I can indicate this by a little pause. Okay? So in music notation it would be like this. Etc. Or if you do not care about music notation, which is perfectly fine with me, I could maybe just be circling the subdivisions here, so it's always here. Right? This would be a more intuitive way of just drawing the rhythm, okay? So we can see it's boom, 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 etc. A classical musician would write this rhythm in the way that it is written here. It's a very correct way of writing it, with a little pause in between and with the number 3 to indicate that it's a triplet grid. However, jazz musicians, for good reasons, decide to simplify this, and they do not write the pause, and they do not indicate the triplet rhythm on top either. So, in any sheet of music of a jazz musician, you will only see 8th notes. There's no way to see the difference between this and this in the music. And actually, when we talk, we will also just call it 8th notes. So we just have to know, are we talking about 8th notes that relate to a triplet grid, to a swing feel, or are we actually talking about true 8th notes as in a straight feel, like in a bossa, for example? Okay, so when I talk to musicians, it's a common thing to say, well, this is swinging, we play this with a swing, right? And if we get into more advanced concepts, we will see that there's a little bit of room to negotiate where exactly that offbeat is. Is it placed exactly on that triplet grid, or is it maybe moved a little bit more to the front or to the back? Those are more advanced concepts, and I don't want to cover them now, but it's really important to understand the difference in principle between swing and not swinging. So let me show this in a little bit of tap dancing. If I have a beat, this will be the beat, boom, 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 and I play straight 8th notes, like 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, and I swing it. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, right? You can hopefully hear it's very different, and we can also feel that it feels different. If I give it in a music example, for example, typically a straight feeling is bossa nova. This would be like, here's the beat, boom, 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 boom. Here's the 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Here are the subdivisions. And I could be tap dancing like this. 2, 3, 4. If I have a swing feel, on the other hand, oops, I'm sorry. This one, nobody's actually playing all the triplets in the band now. The drummer plays the 8th notes, the swing 8th notes, and the bass, most of the times, just plays the quarter notes or the half notes. But I know the beat is here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the subdivision is in triplets. So I will count 1 and the 2 and the 3 and the 4. The 1 and the 2 and the 3 and the 4. The 1. It's a bit fast to be clapping. But now the tap dancing would sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Obviously, in my soloing, I can decide to do the wrong thing on purpose, and it'll make it sound more interesting. I can decide to do straight 8th notes on top of a swinging groove just to add a little bit of tension. It'll sound like this. I start swinging, and then I change. So, as a soloist, we can do all sorts of things, but we understand hopefully now the difference between swinging eighth notes and straight eighth notes. I hope this is understandable. See you next episode.